Hey guys, so Zara just came out with a whole new collection that is a collaboration with Jo Malone, and this is the Vibrant Cities collection, and I'm so happy I got my hands on it. I purchased it as soon as I got the email notification that this little collection box was back in stock. I love that they look like little books. I think it's the most adorable presentation, and I was all about the city names because I just finished watching Money Heist on Netflix. If you guys haven't seen Money Heist, you're missing out. You need to watch that. Anyway, I tested out the whole collection. I wore them all on the skin, and I am here to report to you what each of them smells like. Are they a dupe for anything? And how long they last. So let's get right into it. We're gonna start with Boldly Seoul. So I'm gonna make my way this way, and New York will be at the end. So when you open it up, the packaging looks like this. It comes with an adorable little postcard, and the presentation is super cute. They're all 40 ml bottles. So Boldly Seoul is a predominantly mimosa scent. There's mimosa, violet, musk, and Zara is only listing 3 notes, but it's just for marketing. There's obviously way more notes and facets than what is listed. This fragrance I wore on the skin. I wore all of them on the skin, and it does smell very different on paper than it does on the skin. It opens up with a little bit of a bitterness, like a bitter green floral scent, but it wears on the skin beautifully. It warms up. That mimosa is a really nice, sweet, kind of honeyed, bright, and there's a certain spiciness to it, and it does resemble mimosa and cardamom from Jo Malone, which of course we can expect some similarities in the style, in the composition as some Jo Malone fragrances. I suspected this would be the case as soon as this collection came out. I was like, yeah, some of them are definitely gonna be like resembling Jo Malone fragrances. And this one is similar to mimosa and cardamom. It's a little bit less spicy. It's more mimosa centric, powdery, and musky. It's a really nice fragrance. It wears really, really nicely on the skin. Like, I don't like it as much on paper, but I loved it on my skin as it developed and warmed up. And I have the mimosa cardamom right here. I did a side-by-side comparison. This one is just, it's almost a little bit more soapy. It's a little bit more spicy. This is a great budget alternative. They're very much in the same vein. There are quite a few dupes in this collection. This one, I want to say it's about 80% similar to mimosa and cardamom. It's a really, really beautiful mimosa scent. I will say all of these fragrances absolutely need to be worn on the skin. I noticed that when I sprayed it on paper, it was a completely different impression than the way that the scent developed on the skin. And a lot of the ones that I didn't think I would enjoy, I enjoyed way more when I wore them on the skin. Also, the longevity and performance on this one was really good. I got a good 4 to 5 hours. And this fragrance did transition from the beginning where it was a little bit of a bitter, powdery scent into a really nice, warm, sweet, almost like honeyed mimosa scent. Boldly Seoul is a really nice one. The dupage factor is definitely there though. Moving on to Creatively Shanghai. This is actually my scent of the day, and it's a really nice, spicy orange scent. There's orange, there's cardamom. It's very similar to Jo Malone Orange Bitters. I have both. They are very much in the same vein. Again, I would say probably about 80% close to each other, like extremely, extremely reminiscent of Orange Bitters. It has this nice fizzy, warm citrus. It's not a zingy, zesty, fresh kind of summer citrus. I'm just gonna reapply it on my skin because I had it sprayed on the back of my hand here, and it lasted me through my shower. Like, I put this on in the morning, I showered later in the morning, and now it's the afternoon and I can still smell it on my skin even past the shower. So I was pretty impressed with that. It is a really nice kind of Christmassy orange scent, a very deep, warm orange with cardamom. Those are the main notes that I smell. The cardamom is quite strong. It's really, really beautiful and warm. It's a winter citrus to me. And the longevity is great. This one actually projects quite nicely too, because as I was walking, my partner could smell it and he said that it smelled really, really nice. So this one I know for a fact projects quite nicely. I'm really impressed with the performance of this collection. Like usually Zara fragrances don't last at all. I struggle the most with the performance on Zara fragrances. Usually it's no more than 2 hours. This collection is like thoroughly impressing me with the way that it lasts and projects. It smells really beautiful. It smells like a nice mandarin orange, like a clementine, exactly the kind that you would get around Christmas time. It smells very, very much like that. A little bit fizzy. It has a really nice warm spiciness and a woody base. So when it dries down, it's less of that bright citrus scent and more of just calm, warm spiciness and a woodiness. I think that as a winter scent, this one works really nicely. Like it could be worn all year round, but if you were craving a citrus scent for the cold weather, this one would be fantastic. And I've so far, well now I just reapplied it, but I've had it on for over 5 hours and I could still smell it. Next up is Elegantly Tokyo. Tokyo I wore yesterday and it was a beautiful floral scent. There's lily, there's jasmine, and there's Akigala wood, which I now completely recognize the scent because it smelled so similar, especially in the dry down, to Mugler Cologne Run Free. I haven't smelled the original Mugler Cologne in a long time, but I know that there is quite a resemblance between this one and the original. It's just this one has more of this crisp, almost like soapy, woody scent. It's really nice. It's very refreshing. This one is like a white floral on a nice soapy, woody, crisp base. It's beautiful. Like they're actually quite similar, but this one is, I think, one of the least dupiest of the collection. Like all of the other ones, I see more of a resemblance to other familiar fragrances and some very popular fragrances that are coming up. This one is less so. It's more of its own thing. I noticed the similarity in that woody, crisp note. It's almost watery. It makes me think of water lilies. It's very water lily-esque. And it makes you think of being in one of those beautiful gardens somewhere in Japan and blossoming trees and water lilies, lily pads, like that picturesque park in Tokyo is what comes to mind when I smell this. So I think this is a really successful fragrance. And this one too lasted me quite a while. Like they're all at least at the 4 to 5 hour mark. So that I'm really happy about because they're still very budget. Next up is Gracefully Madrid. This one with the orange packaging, I expected it to be the most citrusy, the most bright, light, and airy. And it is that. It is the most citrusy of the bunch. It's probably the most summery. This one is a dupe for a very popular fragrance. The notes listed for this one are orange geranium and musk, but it is extremely similar to MFK's Aqua Universalis. Extremely similar. Like I'm telling you, 90% similar. Very, very close, especially in the opening and in the middle. The dry down is where they kind of go their separate ways. And in the dry down, I do strongly prefer the Aqua Universalis. This one just kind of becomes a little bit obscure. And this one is the most fleeting of the whole collection. The Gracefully Madrid only lasted me about 3 hours, so it's less performance than the rest of the bunch, but it's still a really nice scent and a very, very close dupe for Aqua Universalis. Like very, very close. I actually wore them side by side the day that I was testing Gracefully Madrid. I was like, this is so familiar. This is so incredibly familiar. Like, let me go get my Aqua Universalis and compare. So I did, and I sprayed it on my other hand. They were almost identical, like, especially in the opening. The openings are like almost 1-to-1, but this one does develop differently and it goes a little bit more into kind of almost a little bit of like a spicy floral musky scent, where this one stays very soapy and clean and fresh, fluffy musky. The Gracefully Madrid is not as fluffy. We're halfway through now, and make sure that you guys stay tuned until the very end of the video because I will let you know my favorite ones from this whole collection. The ones that really, really stood out to me I'll let you know at the end of the video. I always do that when I do like shopping guide / collection reviews, just to give you my personal take. So for those of you guys that share a similar kind of taste and palette to mine, hopefully it lets you guys know which ones are full bottle worthy if you're not going to be buying the full like collector's set. So next up we have Fashionably London. London is probably like dupe factor 10 through the roof. Like, this is a dupe. This is intentional. They knew what they were doing when they made London. What do you guys think London could possibly be a dupe for? What could be one of the most popular rose fragrances in the last few years? I'm pretty sure you've already guessed it. This is a dupe for Delina, more so Delina exclusive, because it's less fresh. It's more of this like deep, almost slightly oud-y, rosy scent. The notes listed for London are only bergamot, musk, and rose, and that doesn't tell you at all what this smells like, because this definitely has a richer, warmer base. It almost has this like oud-y, incensey facet, exactly like in Delina exclusive. I have my Delina exclusive decant right here, and I'll do a side-by-side comparison. The Delina exclusive is a lot sweeter, vanillic, obviously more refined, well-rounded, but this one is like, it's a bit sharper. It is definitely a bit sharper. It's more citrusy, but it's very close. Extremely, extremely close. I do very much prefer the original Delina exclusive. It's my preferred Delina. This one is probably somewhere in between the original Delina and Delina exclusive. Like, it is very Delina. Like, when I wrote my notes on the little paper, I smelled this and I wrote Delina all the way, because this is exactly what it smelled like. As soon as I laid my nose on this scent strip, that's immediately what came to mind. It lies somewhere between the original Delina and the Delina exclusive. I also have a sample of the original Delina right here, so I'll just compare them. Yeah, they're extremely similar. This is very much in between Delina and Delina exclusive. It does have a citrusy sharpness that the Delinas don't have. It's a very good fragrance though, and this one lasts past the 6-hour mark. It's a really strong performer. It does leave a trail. So in terms of like commercially available dupes, this one is extremely, extremely close to Delina. We're down to the last 3, and next up is Magnificently Dubai. This one was the one that impressed me the most in its opening. When I smelled the opening, it wowed me. The notes here are saffron, nutmeg, and leather, but there is definitely citrus in the opening. There is something zesty, something zingy, citrusy, and ginger-like. For me, in the opening, I smell a citrus that's like bergamot. More than likely it's bergamot, with something zesty like ginger and nutmeg. The nutmeg is definitely very prominent in this fragrance. Nutmeg and leather is what it mostly dries down into. The saffron I almost can't pick up at all. And I wouldn't say that this is a dupe for anything. I can't think of a fragrance that this is similar to. Not in the opening. It's kind of its own thing. This one is probably the most unique and the most doing its own thing from the whole collection. I can't think of it being a dupe for anything. First I thought, oh, is it like oud and bergamot? But I have oud and bergamot from Jo Malone. It's not like that at all. It's very different. It's a warm and fresh spiciness, and the dry down is extremely different than the opening. The opening I'm absolutely in love with. It's stunning. I wish it was linear. I wish it was the opening the whole way through. When it dries down, that soft, warm spiciness goes away and it becomes a sharper, leathery, almost oud-like scent. So it becomes more of like a typical oud scent that you would smell. And being a budget fragrance, it doesn't smell the most refined, the most high quality oud. It does have a certain sharpness to it, and like more of that sharp leather scent. I don't mind, it's still a very good fragrance, but I do really love the opening, and I wish the opening stayed for longer. I could smell the opening and that middle where it was nutmeggy and smooth and very nice for a couple hours. After the 3-4 hour mark, it turns into more of that sharp, leathery, oud-like scent. And then I could smell this one for a long time. Like this one I could still smell on my skin 12 hours in. It was a very faint leathery skin scent, but I could still smell it 12 hours in. But I would say it lasts pretty okay up to the 6 or 7 hour mark. I wore it on a colder day, so it didn't perform, I think, as well as it would on a warmer day. But it is a really unique fragrance. Out of all of the ones out of here, I would just keep respraying it for the opening, because the opening burst is addictive and it's just delightful. Like, it's so beautiful. Second last one is Stunningly Venice. And this one smells like fresh cranberries and like a piney Christmas tree scent. It's really nice. I really like this one. It makes me think of Christmas tree shopping, and it reminded me a lot of Dior's Rouge Trafalgar. Rouge Trafalgar also has this berry and pine thing. In here, it's cranberries. It's mostly cranberries. The notes listed are bergamot, cranberries, and myrrh. I smell no myrrh. There's probably bergamot. The cranberry, whatever they used for cranberry in here, has a piney kind of evergreen facet. I have my little baby Rouge Trafalgar right here, and we'll do a little side-by-side comparison. Venice is a little bit more foresty. It's less sweet. It's got a little bit more zest to it. The Rouge Trafalgar is a little bit more smooth and a little bit sweeter, but they're extremely similar. Again, I would say 75 to 80% similar. I actually spilled a little bit on my hand, so now I can compare it from my hand to the scent strip where I have the Venice sprayed. That piney facet is very, very similar in both of them. This one's a little bit more zingy. It's a little bit more zesty, the Venice. This one does stay really linear the whole time. It doesn't really change. It stays that same cranberry sort of pine-like scent all the way through, and I got a good 5 hours out of this one. And it was a very uplifting, fresh, but wintry scent. Like, really makes me just think of Christmas tree shopping, going to a Christmas tree farm and just walking around, maybe like drinking a little bit of something warm, like a little tea or whatever, and just like enjoying a beautiful winter day surrounded by Christmas trees and the smell of like fresh cut Christmas trees. That sort of scent. I love this one. I loved it. So anyway, that is definitely a dupe and an intentional one. I can almost guarantee it. And finally, we have Energetically New York. Energetically New York is a sandalwood scent. It has notes of sandalwood, cardamom, and jasmine. I smell no jasmine. I smell lots of sandalwood, and this is like, again, dupe factor 10 out of 10. Like, this is the dupiest of all. And of course, it's a dupe of Le Labo's Santal 33. It has that fresh dill-like sandalwood. You guys know I'm not a huge fan of Santal 33, but for those that like Santal 33, this is an excellent budget alternative. They're all about the 5 hour mark, this one as well. It has that exact scent, like very, very similar, almost an exact dupe. People that love Santal 33 but don't want to spend the big bucks on it, you can just go for Energetically New York, and it gives you the exact same effect. Fresh dill-like sandalwood. I don't know why I pick up dill. That is what Santal 33 smells like to me, and that is exactly what this smells like to me. Just that type of sandalwood. Not really getting much cardamom, not getting any jasmine. It's really just that sandalwood scent. A little bit of a milkiness to it, but not much else to say except for straight up Santal 33. That's really all you need to know about that. So that is the whole Zara Vibrant Cities collection. I hope I gave you guys a good idea of what each one smells like. I'm really just more interested in letting you guys know as much as possible what something smells like. So comparing it to things that I think might be familiar to you, whether just common sense or other fragrances, which in this case, a lot of these were full-on dupes of very, very popular fragrances. So there you go. Zara came out with a whole dupe collection, except for like maybe 2. They're pretty much all dupey. So now that we're at the very end of the video, I will let you know what my favorite ones are that really stood out to me from this whole collection. The winner for the opening burst and most beautiful opening and just that first impression is Magnificently Dubai. The opening on this one really blew me away, but I didn't love the transition. But I do want to give it points for the opening because it's stunning. And this one's probably the most unisex, almost like masculine leaning one. Honestly, they're all very unisex, and I feel like, except for London, which is very girly and Delina-esque, I think that they're all very, very unisex fragrances that anybody could wear. Even though I think they're technically marketed feminine, they're all super unisex. This one's probably the most like masculine unisex of the bunch, but it's my favorite opening. And then the other three that I really, really loved were Venice, Tokyo, and Shanghai. Those were the ones that, like, these are the ones that I really, really loved, but they have to be tried on the skin because I didn't think I would like Shanghai literally until today when I put it on and I was like, orange bitters vibes all the way. Love that spicy citrus. Tokyo was a really beautiful watery floral with a nice woody base that was very feminine, very like spring-like and uplifting. I really liked this one, and it wasn't very dupey at all. Venice, I loved because it is basically Rouge Trafalgar. Like, it's basically budget Rouge Trafalgar. I actually really loved it. I love a nice zingy cranberry note. I love pininess, and it's what I crave, especially during this season when it's a little bit cooler out. So Venice was a really beautiful fragrance that was also a dupe, but well done. So those are my favorite ones. Oh man, I wish that Dubai opening lasted, because if the Dubai opening lasted the whole way through, that would be my number one. That would be my number one, hands down, like over everything in this collection. So there you have it. That is my full Zara Vibrant Cities collection review. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have tried this collection, please comment down below and let me know what your favorite one or ones are. And that's it. So please make sure to give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Please make sure to subscribe to this channel. Just scroll on down, hit that big red button. It's free. Become a friend of the show. We'll do the fun fragrance things together, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.